No video this week, I'm afraid, guys, because I'm on vacation. Oh, actually, hang on. We're already set up. So this video is by request. I know that in the past I've asked you guys for a lot of information as regards what you want to see on this channel, what books you want published, what books you want talked about, what radio experiments you'd like us to delve into, what sort of things you are interested in learning more about. And this video was requested not by one of you fine YouTube commenters, but by my UPS driver. I see him almost every day. We chat quite a bit, and he said, hey, your channel needs a video on how to read maps, because young whippersnappers that watch YouTube videos don't know how to read maps. Now, this is a common thing that older guys say, but he has trained a number of generations of UPS drivers. He has been there for the rollout of the UPS navigation software, and he has seen different skills and shortcomings of different generations of people. A lot of UPS trucks get themselves into sticky situations, usually during the winter, because the driver knew how to follow the road map, but didn't know how to actually read a map and figure out distances and figure out contour lines and figure out road grades and stuff like that. So map reading used to be a relatively common skill, and we've kind of lost touch of that thanks to our various devices. Everybody does mapping on devices now, and I can't lie, it's super awesome to be able to do so. But you kind of lose some of the old skills, which are valuable. At the time that we're recording this video, a huge swath of land from Florida all the way up to North Carolina and even eastern Tennessee is without power. And most of the cell phone towers have about 24 to 48 hours worth of emergency fuel. So now it's been long enough that a lot of people are without cell phones. So any type of navigation that they need to do, any figuring stuff out in a spatial sense, they're going to need to do with paper maps. So reading maps is a vital skill. Now, these paper maps I have of the area that we're in, I printed myself using a service called CalTopo. Now, there's a bunch of printed maps that you can get. USGS is the United States Geological Survey Group, and they're part of the United States government, and they print maps of a bunch of different parts of the country. They've mapped the entire country. It's a little harder to get maps of everywhere in the country. And over the years, those maps have actually gotten worse. It's not that they've gotten less accurate, but there are fewer and fewer things on those maps. So when I travel, whether it's on vacation or for some other reason, I like to get maps of where I'm going to go so that I am A, prepared for something terrible happening, like me losing my phone or my phone signal, or to experiment. The land around here is very different than Tennessee, so terrain association is very different for me. I need to learn to associate with an entirely new type of terrain around here, and I need some maps to actually go over there. But the most important thing that you need to know when you read a map is the legend. First of all, you need to be able to figure out the scale of the map, which way is north, and how big of a map it is. How far it is to actually go 2 or 3 inches on the map is vital. First thing you want to do when you pick up a map is figure out how big of an area is that you're looking at. This legend down here will tell you that this is 4 kilometers, or this right here is 2 miles. And then this right here tells you which way magnetic north is. It's just almost 3 degrees off from holding the paper straight up in the air. So once we grab ourselves a compass, we can figure out which way north is, and we can orient the map facing north. Now I know where I am on this little piece of land right here. Trust me, I can see it in the daylight a little bit better than the camera. Now, the other thing that's important about map scale is what the map grid is doing. I want to know if I'm looking at a gigantic island or a small spit of land that I could hike across in a few minutes. That's what this tells me. But I also want to know what is the scale of the map. And I've printed this at 1/25,000. So 1 foot is 25,000 times smaller on this map than it is in real life. And the reason for that, military scale, not the 2400 that USGS maps generally have, is I want to use this Sun2 compass, which is set up with marks along the side for that 1/25 scale. And sometimes it's hard to find maps and compasses that go together, which is why printing your own is sometimes really helpful. On CalTopo, the website, you have the ability to export PDFs that print at a number of different scales that line up with the compasses that you have or that you can buy from T-Rex Arms. Then you have the ability to actually do some proper land nav. You can do some terrain association. You can work with some contour lines. And I'm not actually going to get into contour lines here because I already made a video describing exactly how contour lines work in 2D and 3-dimensional space, and we'll just link to it over here. But I do want to talk about different types of maps. See, we're close to the ocean and it's perfectly flat here, so the contour lines barely show up. I need to figure out my terrain association based on other features. This is so flat that I need to look for marshes, and I need to look for water features, and I need to look for roads, and I need to look for specific kinds of houses. And at this point, we're limited by whatever kind of data is on the map. So the USGS map legend has a whole bunch of little icons that help you figure this stuff out. So you can go across here and look at different kind of boundaries and figure out if we're at a national boundary or a state or a territory boundary or a county boundary. We can look at different types of things here, like this is what airport landing strips look like. Down here is what unpaved landing strips look like. If I find an airfield, this will be helpful for me to figure out which one I'm close to. And we've got our contour lines here that I mentioned before. And since we're close to the ocean, this is handy because I can figure out what kind of foreshore features might exist on the map and around me. There's just a whole bunch of stuff in here that is kind of handy for figuring stuff out. This is probably the most useful page because I am finding a bunch of little lakes that are full of water and little lakes that are dry because it's the end of summer. And over here, some different types of marshland. So this is great because these are the terrain features that I'm going to use to find myself on the map. Now, I could always cheat and use my Garmin GPS watch to pinpoint my exact position, but remember, this is a learning opportunity to figure some of this stuff out. Now, once you're in CalTopo, you will find that there's a whole bunch of different drop downs on the side where you can pick exactly which map data you want to print. And there's a lot of different reasons to use different stuff. For example, this is satellite imagery with some contour lines on it. Now, it's not super sharp and it's not super detailed based on which tiles they actually grab to print, but this shows me actual lakes, different types of foliage that is quite useful out here. Satellite imagery is a lot less useful in Tennessee because it is so wooded by the same kinds of trees that this map would just be almost the same shade of green. Satellite imagery is just pictures of the tops of trees in Tennessee. Down here, it's actually marginally more useful to be able to see where there is grassland, where there is tree cover, where there is marshes, where there's dry lakes, where there is beach, etc. Now, CalTopo also lets you print those USGS topo maps at whatever scale you want. And there is some useful stuff on here, and it all corresponds with the legend that we were using before. So this is a pretty handy one for a number of different things. But again, there's less data on this map than you might want. There are some things like power lines down here that you might want to use for some specific things. I can see a couple of cell phone towers about a mile back. If those were on the map, I could actually use those, shoot an azimuth to those, draw a line from that one that I can see over there to the one that I marked over there, and figure out my exact position on the map. So there's still stuff on these topo lines that really ought to be here. And then we also have marine navigation maps. I'm not going to get into these too much because I'm not a sailor and we're not going to do anything on a boat in this video, but it is another map source that you can get inside of CalTopo and look around with. And one of the things that we're running into is a lot of these maps have been optimized for digital or specific types of printing that I don't fully understand. So I don't know whether this map should be printed at a specific scale to get the actual depth soundings to show up, but they don't show up at either 25K or 50K, which are the normal ones that I'm printing for use with this compass, because you don't use marine maps for land navigation. But there's a whole bunch of interesting information on here if you know how to read it, and it'll tell you about the depth of different areas and sometimes even some current information is on them. So I would expect that if you got onto CalTopo and you messed around inside of the web application and you picked some interesting maps of your area or an area that you were about to go to, you could come out here like I'm doing and you could experiment with different navigational techniques, getting used to recognizing stuff and do terrain association in a terrain that is either where you live or vastly different from where you live, so that you could learn some more stuff to add to your toolbox. The other experiment that we're going to do here is these are printed on Write in the Rain paper. As you may or may not know, Write in the Rain paper is waterproof, so you can write in the rain. And if you go to the T-Rex website, you can buy Write in the Rain notebooks, you can buy Write in the Rain pens, and you can do all kinds of stuff on the Write in the Rain paper as long as you have a color laser. I think inkjet doesn't print well on waterproof paper, but if you have a black and white laser printer or a color laser printer, you can very easily print your own stuff that looks like this, and we're going to stress test this and make sure that it's actually properly waterproof so that we have rugged maps for the rugged kind of vacation activities that we're going to get up to. There's a couple other maps that I want to mention though, a couple of different map types that we should look at. This is the CalTopo app running on Android, and it is a fantastic tool because you have access to all of the different map layer data that we've currently discussed, and you can see a bunch of interesting things, zoom in, zoom out, and find your exact location and heading with the GPS. So once you put your phone in a waterproof case so it's safe for you to do stuff like that, it's probably a pretty handy thing to have. But let's not forget that we used to be able to navigate pretty well without any of that stuff. When I was a kid, I remember my dad would draw maps for people all the time. The ability to not just read a map, but also draw one is huge. To figure out, and these are almost always road maps, by the way, to figure out like this is where we are, and you need to take this road here for about a quarter of a mile or exactly 0.7 miles on your car's odometer. You're going to tee into this road. When you get to this off-ramp after exactly 7 miles, you're going to get onto this road and it's going to take you back down this way. Our parents' generation used to navigate the entire continent using maps like this that showed you how to get to and from places or onto major highways where they were signs, and it's kind of a lost art. But I think that it demonstrates that our parents had a little bit of more map directional capability in their brains, a little bit more spatial awareness. Not only be able to read a map like this, but be able to just whip out a pen and draw one really quickly based on their knowledge of distances and directions, road names, signs, stuff that we don't really pay attention to anymore because we have these semi-indestructible phones that always work in emergencies no matter what. So I want us to think about building these kinds of skills because they come in pretty handy. But there's another reason to figure out how to read maps and navigate with a compass than just practical utility in a disaster sort of situation. I believe that it is actually really good for our problem-solving capability and brain development. I was talking to my uncle last week, and he was describing to me that a fantastic way to determine if someone has problem-solving capability is to ask if they do any kind of land navigation, any time of location finding or route finding out in the wilderness. If they spend time outside, not just, touching grass, but actually finding locations and actually determining routes to get to and from places. Our brains are designed to do that, and we keep our brains fresh and sharp if we actually maintain these kind of things that our brains are designed to do. Complex, nonlinear problem solving in a spatial place where we live by picking out visual routes and analyzing our location. These are all things that we could very easily forget how to do if we delegate them to our phones too much. Actually, I don't want to use the word delegate. That sounds too positive. If we abdicate too many responsibilities to our phones, we kind of lose the capability. It is embarrassing for me to tell you how little memorization capability I have anymore. I used to be able to remember phone numbers. I used to be able to remember directions. I used to be able to remember Bible verses. And now I remember where they are so that I can look them up someplace else. Again, delegating things to your phone is not bad, but completely abdicating responsibilities is a problem. Not only do you lose the data, but you start to lose the skill set. In the last episode that we did last week, we talked about how even some video games that force you to navigate with a map, remembering which way is north, and with a compass are going to start to build some of those shelves in your brain. But getting outside with actual maps, with actual compasses, with actual terrain to try to associate with what is on paper and actually figure out how you're going to get from place to place is going to be, well, it's not just good to get out in the fresh air and the sunshine, but it's actually going to be good for your brain to do some of this problem solving. So I want you guys to do that. Right now, there are disasters happening in this very country where maps and compass capabilities are the difference between possibly life and death, certainly between having access to tools and equipment and supplies sooner rather than later. But it's also just going to be good for you as a person to develop your capabilities and experiment with this stuff. And I think that's important. It's kind of amazing to me that our forefathers, well, specifically our fathers, used to be able to draw maps with a simple ballpoint pen, and it was all that it took to navigate the wilds of the places where we used to live. This was all you needed to get from point A to point B. People understood that. But what is more fascinating and far more romantic is the cartography of the olden days. Our great-great-great-grandparents used to make maps like this, to sail to unknown spots, find treasure, and build forts. We need to reject modernity and embrace tradition.